Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, broadcast from Pretoria Law in Tysons, Virginia. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts, Joe Applebaum, Potomac Companies, John Yettman, AEG, Association for Enterprise Growth, David Kunzman, Pretoria Law, Shirley Mowry at Hertzbach. And we have a great lineup of guests for you on our show today, including Julian Setian, President and CEO of SOS International, Brandon Torres Declet, CEO and co-founder, Measure, Alex, how do you pronounce your last name, Alex?
Koludrovic,
who is the General Manager of American Technology Services, and Catherine and Harvey Mendelsohn, CEO and President of Sunnyside Restaurant Group. Let's get to our first guest, Julian Setian, President and CEO of SOS International. Julian, what is SOS International? What are you guys doing?
We're a mid-tier government services integrator based in Washington, D.C.
How large or how small is this organization?
We have 1,500 employees, do about $500 million in revenue.
Oh, that's a nice company. Wow. And how'd you get a job with this company?
Started with my mother back in 1995.
So your mother started the business?
Yes.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, and where you're from originally?
I've got one sister, and I'm from New York City.
What happened when you were 4 years old?
My parents got divorced.
Your parents were divorced when you were 4 years old. And what do you remember about that time, and how do you think that's affecting you nowadays?
I developed a deep sense of separation anxiety early.
What do you mean of separation anxiety early? What are you talking about here?
Fear of commitment, fear of separation, fear of loss.
So you're sort of driven, aren't you?
Pretty driven.
Shirley?
You mentioned that the business was started by your mother. When you took over, how big was it? And remind me how big it is now.
We're doing about $5 million in sales and had about 50 employees.
And nowadays?
$500 million in sales, 1,500 employees.
So basically it was about 1% of the size it is nowadays. You've really grown this organization, haven't you? Shirley, what else?
You mentioned you liked basketball as a kid. What role did you play on the team?
I was a point guard and captain.
And what is the purpose of a point guard?
A point guard sets plays, organizes the team, serves as a de facto leader.
And how does that relate to what you do today?
I'm the play setter today in my own business.
You really see a parallel between playing the point guard and what you're doing nowadays?
No question about it.
Oh, okay, good. Good question, Shirley. David?
you mentioned earlier, 8 to 14, your mother was a mentor to you. And how does that affect your business today?
Well, I mean, she's the company matriarch. I've taken my moral headings from her. She's the one who taught me a lot of the foundational values that exist today in our business.
And what role did you play in her life when you were a youngster? I
was really the de facto man in her life since we separated. They separated when I was so young.
So you had kind of two roles, son and man in her life, and you had an older sister as well.
Correct.
Right.
How this man in her life? What's that have to do with what you're doing nowadays?
I mean, she depended on me early on, emotionally, and later that became materially and financially.
This is your mom you're talking about.
That's correct.
You think that helped you drive and build the business?
Yep, sure did.
Mm-hmm. John?
Someone once gave you advice that was fill the box. What does that mean?
So I was advised to fill the box that I have to the maximum degree before graduating to a bigger box.
And is that why you started multiple businesses and are involved with multiple organizations?
Yes.
Oh, wait. So what other organizations have you started? What other businesses have you started?
Two other businesses in particular, one in the extractives and mining sector, and the other is a data analytics business.
And how large or how small are those businesses?
One is projected to be about $10 million in sales this year, and the other is $3 to $4 million a year enterprise.
But I don't understand. If you were told to go fill the box, why are you starting these other businesses?
Restlessness.
Fear?
Fear, for sure.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood. Who's got the next question?
Yeah, and you're involved with YPO?
Correct.
Why?
I became passionate about peer-to-peer learning largely because, I didn't have clear role models in my life beyond my mother, and so The idea that leaders can learn from each other because it's lonely at the top made a lot of sense to me, resonated with me early.
Mm-hmm. So it seems to me, when we were talking earlier in the green room, it seems to me that one of these businesses led to the next business, led to the next business. It seems to me that you're pretty good at establishing and maintaining relationships and then leveraging with and from those relationships. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Tell us about how young were you when you started making money, and how did you get the job?
I was about 13 years old, referred by a friend, scooping ice cream, Steve's Ice Cream on 112th and 113th Street in Broadway.
So your first job, somebody brought you into it.
Yes.
So you're pretty good being brought into stuff. Your mother brought you into a business. How'd you get exposed to these other businesses that you started?
Always relationships. Relationships are key, the foundation to business in general.
Wait a minute. I read the newspapers, and I hear about lawsuits and people suing each other and blood and guts. You're telling me, you just told me the foundations are the everything in business? But that's not what I read in the newspapers.
It's 100% about relationships.
What are you talking about?
Business is an art, not a science, just like relationships.
Business is an art, not a science, like relationships. Give me some more about that, and how'd you learn that, and tell me more about that. Establishing and endearing trust amongst your peers, people you work with, really are critical to success in business. You use the word trust in the same sentence as business? Really?
Yeah. Nowadays, unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. But yes, I think successful business always leads back to trust. And trust is like love. You either feel it or you don't.
So you're telling me that you have people in business, in the different businesses you're involved with, that you really trust?
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily the contract you have with them, it's the relationship you have with them.
Absolutely.
I guess without the relationship, you're just going to have problems anyway. So you really got to bet on the relationship, right? On the people?
100%.
So you're pretty good at picking and choosing who people are and where people fit?
I like to think so.
Was that the role of the point guard?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Not just picking the right team, but figuring out how you can maximize the strengths of the people on the team.
Not just picking the right team, but figuring out, I guess, where everybody fits on the team, huh?
Correct.
Huh. And that's the same thing with business.
Absolutely.
Well, what else are you guys thinking? David?
Well, with a family business, it's great to have those relationships already, but you mentioned the green room. You're scooping ice cream. You're working really hard. Tell us about how you were different.
Yeah, I mean, you can never be the smartest guy in the room. You can never be the most creative guy in the room, but you definitely can be the hardest working guy in the room. So to me, that's always been the critical factor.
Working hard.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Now, let me ask you a question. You're running a company. You're running a couple of companies, a $500 million business, a $10 million. Do you have the nicest car in the parking lot?
No.
Why not?
That's a funny question.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. I guess I grew an attachment to my little 2003 BMW convertible. I get a lot of jokes about that, by the way, at work. So
wait a minute. You're driving a 2003 BMW. Why don't you buy yourself a fancy new car?
It's just not me. I'm just not that guy.
What are you talking about?
It just doesn't feel natural to me.
I thought the whole idea was to make a lot of money and buy fancy cars and stuff.
It's never been about that.
What's it been about? What are you talking about? I don't understand.
I mean, I get jazzed up over the enterprise building process, and it's never been about money. If it were, I'd have cashed out a long time ago.
The enterprise building process. What do you tell me more about that? What do you mean?
It's just I think just building a large enterprise, watching people thrive and prosper within that enterprise. Those are the things that really get me excited. It's never about the money.
It's all about the team?
Correct.
Do you think you're going to retire someday?
Probably not.
Well, but could you financially retire now if you wanted to?
I could have retired 10 years ago.
So why don't you?
I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
So you really enjoy the challenge of building the team?
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily for the money.
No.
And you're driving a 2003 BMW that's 15 years old.
Correct.
Uh-huh. So is your mom still around nowadays?
She is.
Uh-huh. And is your mom surprised about how you turned out?
I don't think she's surprised. A little bit bewildered, I guess. I've kind of taken her kicking and screaming all the way.
Well, you took the role as the as the man in the house. What's the best part of your day?
Waking up in the morning.
Looking forward to the day, the challenge of the day, building a team.
And the fact that I made it through the day prior.
What's the website address of this organization known as SOS International?
SOSI.com.
Let me have that one more time.
SOSI.com.
We've been speaking with Julian Setian, President and CEO of SOS International, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. We'll be back in a moment, right after this break. Want help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce a gentleman by the name of Brandon Torres Declet, who is the CEO and co-founder of an organization known as Measure. Brandon, what is Measure? What are you guys doing?
Measure is a DC-based drone services and software company.
How large or how small is this organization?
45 employees, right in downtown Chinatown.
And how'd you get a job with this company?
I started it.
How old were you when you started it?
I was 38 years old.
Were you married and did you have any kids?
I was married, had 3 kids, and decided to take the plunge and be an entrepreneur.
It's pretty risky considering most businesses fail. Where are you from originally?
New York City.
How many brothers and sisters?
1 brother and 1 sister.
Where are you in the pecking order?
At the top.
You're the oldest, huh?
I am.
So tell us, what was going on with you 8 to 14 years old? What were the major impacts in your life back then?
Crazy times. When I was 11, my folks decided to move from New York City to Ridgewood, New Jersey. And they bought a nice house in the burbs.
Yeah.
And then, literally a couple months later, my dad lost his job in that Black Monday in 1987.
So how did Dad losing his job affect you?
It was hard. My parents had just taken out a very large mortgage, and they had 3 kids to look after.
And you were 11 or 12. Were you aware of the fact that they took out a large mortgage and your dad lost his job?
Of course. I remember my dad negotiating the mortgage with the bank on the phone at my grandmother's house.
So you remember this, huh?
Yep.
And what was such a big deal about you moving from New York City to New Jersey? What was the big deal there?
I was a city kid. I had an entire network of friends and things I knew what to do and where to go. And moving to the burbs became a very car-dependent type lifestyle. It was very different from New York.
So you learned about starting over, didn't you?
I did. Everything started over.
So you learned about courage, huh? Let me ask you a question. I'm wondering if that experience starting over, moving from New York City to Ridgewood, New Jersey, and Dad losing his job, I'm wondering if that had any influence on your wanting and your ability to start a business when you were 38 with 3 kids and being married.
Yeah, I always wanted to succeed. I always wanted something of my own, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave that opportunity, and I never did it.
David?
Tell us about your father's job in finance.
Yeah, he was one of the first Hispanic senior vice presidents at Citibank. He did mergers and acquisitions at the time.
And you indicated in the green room that a lot of challenges he faced in that role.
Yeah, back in the 80s, there weren't a lot of people like my dad at Citibank, and I think he faced some discrimination, some prejudice. He would tell me some pretty horrible stories about what folks would say behind his back.
And you mentioned that he emphasized tenacity. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. He always said to me that when you fall down, you better get back up, and there's nothing more important in this world than being tenacious.
12 years old, your first paying job. Tell us about that.
I was a swimming instructor at the local YMCA in Ridgewood, New Jersey.
And it was your idea to get that job?
It was my idea. I think I wanted to find ways to meet people and to do something I liked.
And you continued doing it, you mentioned earlier, but what made you different as a swimming instructor?
I think the fact is that I enjoyed working with the kids who were really scared, genuinely scared of getting in the water and learning how to swim and just caring for them.
Okay.
What's that have to do with what you're doing nowadays, helping those kids that were really scared and caring for those kids? What's that have to do with what you're doing now?
Well, when you have a company and you've got to grow it and nurture it, you have to care and you have to figure out what's important. And it always, as Julian has said, it's about the team, it's about the people.
Huh. Okay, I didn't realize that before. Shirley?
What clubs were you involved with when you were a kid?
In high school, I did Students for Environmental Action. I did the local Democratic Club. I always kind of was fascinated by both politics and environmental issues.
And what role did you play amongst the kids in the clubs?
I typically tried to take a leadership role. I always felt like I could contribute, and I could contribute best if I stepped forward.
And how does that relate to what you're doing today?
You can't be a CEO and co-founder of a company unless you're willing to step forward and take a risk. Risk taking is incredibly important part of being successful in this life.
John?
As a New Yorker, how did 9/11 affect you?
It affected me deeply. When I was in law school, I literally lived a block away. I remember as a kid going to the World Trade Center, and it changed my life.
Why did you become a lawyer?
Well, when I graduated college, I'll be honest, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I don't think I was particularly ready to go off into the real world. So I decided to apply for law school and see if I could figure it out over those 3 years.
Back to 9/11, how did that change your life?
I just completely decided to do something for our country and for our nation, and decided to just go into a completely different direction, more towards Homeland Security and national security and those types of issues than what I had been working on previously.
And then how did you get involved with drones? Is that part of it?
It was a natural extension. Part of the work I was doing in this space led to drones and to drone policy, and Measure became another outgrowth of that.
What do you mean Measure became an outgrowth of that? What are you talking about?
Well, it was an idea. It was an idea that we could take the technology and commercialize it in some way for businesses. And I was seeing a lot of value that government was getting out of the tech, and I figured there was a way to do it and make some money at it.
Do you really think that move from New York City to New Jersey and your father losing his job had any impact on your starting this business?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think I wanted to have more control over my destiny, be my own boss.
What'd your wife think of that idea?
Well, I didn't tell her at first. Like every idea, you start and you want to make sure that you've really got something before you get everyone's wheels spinning and everyone worried about the decision you're going to make next.
Well, how did you know you really had something? At what point in time did you tell your wife that you were going to quit your job and put the 3 kids at risk?
I just believed it in my core. And when I told it to her, she was, and I guess I was worried initially she wasn't going to be supportive, but she ended up being my biggest champion, my biggest fan.
What do you mean?
She supports me unconditionally in everything I do.
Mm-hmm. Your mom and dad aware of what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely.
You think they're surprised?
Not at all. Not at all. But I oftentimes have to spend a lot of time explaining to them what I do every day.
How's your dad feel about what you're doing?
He's incredibly proud of me.
Why?
Because I'm doing something I love, and I think that's important. Life is short. Take the risk.
What is it about drones you love, or what is it you love about what you're doing? Is it the drones, or what is it?
I traveled on airplanes a lot as a kid, and I just was fascinated by airplanes, by aviation, and I could never be a pilot because I have terrible eyesight. So this is a way to be in the aviation space and enjoy that part.
So who are your customers for this business?
Big companies, big energy companies primarily that have large infrastructure portfolios that need to be inspected with drones.
So you're doing the inspections for them?
We're doing the inspections, that's right.
Uh-huh. Does that caring for the kids when you were a swimming instructor have anything to do with your clients?
Well, it does, because oftentimes we're preventing people from, taking the dangerous step of climbing up a cell tower or climbing up a wind turbine to find defects or repairs that need to be made. So, for one of our largest customers, we've, avoided 57,000 man-hours of dangerous labor.
Give me that again.
So for one of our largest energy companies, we've helped them avoid 57,000 hazardous man-hours in the field over the last 2 years.
Using drones?
Using drones.
Mm-hmm. What other questions you guys got? What's the best part of your day? What do you like best about your day?
I like that I don't necessarily know what's going to happen. I have a schedule, and there are meetings on that schedule, but something always intercedes. And that excitement and that bit of unknown is what keeps me going.
Wait a minute. You like the unknown?
I love the unknown.
Isn't that frightening?
Not to me.
Uh-huh. And you have any kids? 3 kids?
I have 3 kids.
Uh-huh. Any of them like you?
They're all like me.
What do you mean?
I have a 9-year-old she's 8. She'll be 9 in August, and my boys just turned 7 in April. They're twin boys. And
what's the similarity between being a dad and being an entrepreneur, or between being a CEO and being a dad? Oop, I'm running out of time.
Yeah,
what's the website address of Measure?
Measure.com.
Brandon Torres Declet here on Executive Leaders Radio. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Alex Koludrovic, who is the General Manager of American Technology Services. Alex, what is American Technology Services? What are you guys doing?
It's a technology company here in Fairfax, Virginia, providing IT services to small and mid-sized businesses.
How large or how small is the team?
50.
And where are you from originally?
Born in New York City and made my way to Bangkok.
How young were you when you went to Bangkok?
1.5.
Uh-huh. How many brothers and sisters?
I'm an only child, but not a recluse.
Uh-huh. Tell me a little bit about when you're an only child growing up in Bangkok. What makes an only child special?
I think it's just, learning things yourself, being closer to your parents.
Give me an idea of how young were you when you were learning things by yourself? Were you taking things apart and putting them back together again?
Yes.
Like what?
First thing was a VCR that got taken apart,
so
but never put back together.
Oh, I see. So you're curious as a kid. David?
Sometimes only children, the parents project. You have to be the best athlete, best student, and everything rolled into one child. Was that the case?
No, they didn't push me in that direction. They just wanted me to, do what I could do best and what would be best for me.
And what did your parents do for a living?
My dad worked for the United Nations, and my mom was a homemaker.
And working in kind of a public role for the UN, if you talk about the interactions you would have had and how you had.
Yeah, we had a lot of parties at our home, cocktail parties, dinner parties. There was interaction with older people at my young age.
And how do you apply that to your job?
I think it helps me interact with clients easier and also understand where they're coming from.
Interesting. Shirley?
How young were you when you first started working?
About 14 as a tennis assistant, teacher, helping my coach.
And how did you get that?
Students.
How did you get that job?
The coach just thought that I was interacting well with others, and he thought that I'd connect with the younger students and help them along.
And you mentioned that you also did tutoring for the Thai students when you were 15?
Yes, that's right. I was helping them just kind of conversational English and how they would kind of make it once they made it to the States and start their schooling.
And how does that tie in with what you're doing today? What are the similarities?
I think it's just the mentoring, providing guidance to my employees. It comes in handy.
Do you really see a similarity between mentoring the Thai students and what you're doing nowadays?
I think so. It's helpful to interact with different cultures. At our company, we have people from 20 different countries, so it helps me kind of interact with them and understand them better.
Wow. John?
Alex, in the green room, we asked who were your inspirations, and one of those people was Nikola Tesla. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, my family's Yugoslavian, so I learned of Tesla early on, early 70s, and I read a lot of books about him, and I just loved his creative nature and pushing the envelope.
And then you had a meeting with Pele.
Yeah, that was a wild
What was that
moment.
about?
Yeah, my mom knew the ambassador, Brazilian ambassador, and introduced us to Pele, and got to meet him in person and talk to him. And you always think of him as a big star, but he's just another person, and he was very kind and interactive with us little kids.
And how did that inspire you?
I think it inspired us all to kind of, if you put the effort in what you love, you can achieve greatness.
What do you mean if you put the effort into what you love, you achieve?
I think if you really work hard at what you want to achieve, there's a good possibility that you'll reach that point.
Huh. We have Tim Hipskind with us, who is Senior Vice President, Sales and Client Management of the company that acquired you recently, and you guys are working pretty closely together. Tim, what's your role with Alex?
We both work for the same person. It's the COO of the company. Alex plays the role of the GM, so he has the organization.
What's strange about the way your organization's structured as opposed to most?
Typically, in a lot of organizations, IT services, you have the sales and client management role reporting into a CEO or president of sales. In our case, we both work for the COO, so the operations is tied to the sales and ongoing support of the client manager.
What's the benefit to your client of the way your organization's structured?
It's end-to-end, so they don't see a face and then they disappear from a sales function. They have the operations and the sales and client management role all together through the COO.
So you're telling me that the way your organization's designed, it's purposeful, and what's the benefit to the client of the way your organization's purposely designed?
It gives them end-to-end support and then the ongoing trust and relationship for a long-term contract.
It makes the whole organization work as a team.
It's not division broken up by heads and empires.
So
it's seamless one person.
So let's see. If I get this correctly, Alex is the general manager to make sure that he's delivering what you sell, and you're responsible for selling what Alex is able to deliver, and you guys are both reporting into the same individual who's responsible for coordinating supply and demand. Am I seeing that correctly?
Yes.
Yep.
And that's not necessarily the way most IT organizations are structured. That must be pretty detrimental to the client to have to deal with a whole mess of different people and who's really responsible. And somebody sold me something, and then the organization couldn't deliver it. And it sounds to me like you guys are purposefully designed with the client in mind. Am I wrong about this?
We like to look at it as one face, one throat to choke, a single point of contact.
That's correct.
Huh. Interesting. Now, this is a business. Alex, your business was acquired by Tim's organization?
Yes, it acquired us just recently on April Fool's Day.
And this is an organization. Did you start the organization, or did you go to work with this organization originally?
I got hired by my business partner who started the company.
How many years ago was this? 94.
I joined in 96.
So this is a business you guys have built over 20 years. And then why would you allow yourself to be acquired? Why would you want to be acquired?
Well, my business partner wanted to retire, and that was the only way to do it with a small business.
So it was a liquidity event.
Correct.
So basically, the benefit of being acquired is that you're able to cash out your partner, and you're also brought in other resources to the organization to help move you forward.
Exactly. We're hoping that can help us to scale. We found us being two complementary organizations, and we could really deliver some interesting services, not only in this region as we do today, but probably across the U.S. and eventually globally.
Wow. So it sounds like there's a real synergy here, considering what you guys are able to bring to the party collectively.
Correct.
Other questions? Who's got another question here? So you guys are working day in and day out together?
Yes.
Recently we have been. I think there's going to be more of a longer-term plan to do that. And it's something you touched on, too. Our interest from Worldwide Tech Services in acquiring ATS was the scalability. So they're more regionalized here locally, and we want to take them and, as Alex referred to, grow them up and out. And we see a lot of promising opportunity with them in the hosting and managed services area.
So this is actually creating an opportunity for Alex's general management abilities.
Yep, spot on. And the folks here locally, too, because we're going to try again, grow up and out from a more regionalized approach.
So so not only is it more opportunity for Alex, it's more opportunity for Alex's team.
That's correct.
Assuming they're able to take the load in terms of helping build the business.
Yes, it's a great opportunity for growth for all of us.
So this isn't a situation where a business got acquired and everybody lost their jobs. This is a situation where a business has been acquired. It's creating opportunity.
Yeah, we picked them purposely because we're complementary and there was no need to have people leave after the event.
A lot of M&As, you see them go in and buy to bust up and break out. Ours was to buy and build up and grow out.
And this really fits your nature, Tim. Am I correct about that?
Absolutely.
Now, how long have you been with the mother organization?
16 years.
So you're really committed to this organization.
I am.
You've been with the organization for 16 years. So were you part of making the decision to acquire Alex's business?
Yes.
Why would they include you as part of the decision to acquire Alex's business?
Background in M&A with banking from many years ago, but more importantly, with the originally founding CEO for Worldwide Tech Services. He was part of the acquisition team. He asked me to help with the due diligence. And, of course, the person we both worked for, the COO, was also hands-on involved, and she had asked me to be involved.
How important were your first impressions of Alex?
That's what really did it for us. First impressions were everything. There was a sense of trust just at the table. And there were other buyers, but there was a sense of trust, and there was a commitment to their clients and their relationships that they have built over 26 years. I was impressed with the CEO and certainly impressed with Alex.
Alex, what was your original impression of Tim?
It was very easygoing and interacted with him from the get-go.
And what's the website address of this organization?
Networkats.com.
Let me have that one more time.
Networkats.com.
We've been speaking with Alex. Your last name?
Koludrovic.
Who's the General Manager of American Technology Services here on Executive Leaders Radio. Want help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Catherine and Harvey Mendelsohn, CEO and President of Sunnyside Restaurant Group. What is Sunnyside Restaurant Group? What do you guys do?
We own 3 concepts, and we are launching 2 more restaurant concepts.
Mm-hmm. And how large or small is the team?
The team is our corporate team is 125 people.
Mm-hmm. And where are you from originally, Catherine?
Montreal.
And how many brothers and sisters?
None. I'm an only child.
And what makes an only child special?
I think your parents focus on you, so that gives you a lot of confidence. They think you're kind of great at everything.
All righty, David.
How old were you when you started working in the restaurant business?
I was 11 years old.
And what were you doing?
I was cashier.
So, but isn't that kind of lousy? Your friends were out at age 11 playing, having fun?
No, I loved it. I loved the buzz.
What do you mean you loved the buzz?
I've always loved the buzz. For me, this is not a business. This is a life. I love it. Every day, I love it. I don't feel like I'm going to work ever.
What do you mean you don't feel like you're going to work ever?
I've never worked a day in my life.
What time do you start with emails, or what time do you start thinking about the business in the morning?
6 o'clock in the morning.
What time do you stop at night?
2 o'clock in the morning.
Uh-huh. You don't have to work weekends, though, do you?
Yes, I do. Well, I don't have to, but I do.
Wait. So you're telling me from 6 in the morning till 2 in the morning you're thinking or working on the business, including the weekends, and you don't think it's work?
No, I don't. Because I love it.
What do you love about it?
I love everything about it. I love the research of it. I'm always looking for new ideas in the business. I talk to my grandchildren about it. I tell them stories about it. It's a life. It's just a life. My employees are all my family. I care about them.
John?
So your dad took you to Paris when you were 11?
Yes, that's right.
Talk about that. Why did that
He
help
took
you
me to
where you
Paris.
are?
He took me to the most interesting markets. He took me to Fauchon's. He took me to Fouquet. He took me to Maxime's for dinner. He wanted me to see what was the best in his line of work.
So your dad inspired you. Your mom was a socialite. Your dad was a famous restaurateur in Canada. Now your children both work in the business. Your son's a celebrity chef. So family is obviously important.
Very.
Talk about that.
Very.
What do you mean? Why is and you were mentioning that that the folks that are working in the restaurant or at the restaurant are a part of your family.
Yes, they are a part of our family.
What do you mean?
Well, as a matter of fact, I mean, our corporate office is just one big, wide open space with probably at any time of the day we're about 10, 12 people working in there, talking across our desk, across the conference table, just exchanging ideas. Somebody's working, they lift their head. Our controller lifts her head and tells us, well, she ate an ice cream cone at this place that was great, and we should go see it. I mean...
Let's move to you, Harvey. What's your role at Sunnyside Restaurant Group?
I'm really not sure. No, actually, I look after the accounting and management and leases and things of that nature.
And where did you grow up?
In Montreal.
And how many brothers and sisters?
I'm the middle one.
Now, I understand as a young boy you worked in a retail clothing store. Can you give us the scope of what you did there?
Yes, I started off cleaning, looking to make money, and then I found out that people were coming in and just walking around, so I started selling. And I found it very easy, very natural, very normal to this day.
And how does that parallel with what you do for the restaurant group?
Well, I never expected it, but I do that now for our expansion, for our franchisees, for our overseas operation. We're selling. We're constantly selling. That's what we do.
It sounds to me like you have this natural ability, Harvey, to see what needs to get done even though it's not right in front of you. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
And you know, the way I'm picking that up is, you know, you were brought in to clean the floors or something in this clothing store, but you ended up seeing people walking around and you just naturally migrated toward taking care of the customers. How's that all playing out nowadays in terms of building this enterprise known as Sunnyside Restaurant Group?
Well, it's worked out pretty well. We have about 15 locations. We have about 15, maybe 6 or 7 more to go, and unlimited.
So you have a natural ability to keep developing things.
Absolutely.
And your wife and your business partner is like the idea guy of the team.
Mm-hmm.
So she's always thinking about new ideas, and you get stuck implementing them. Is that the way it works?
No. I look forward to it.
What do you mean you look forward to it?
It's exciting. She creates, and I sell them. Even when it's not finished, I can sell it.
So you guys really work hand in hand together.
You're right.
All right. If I was doing a good interview, Catherine, what am I missing? What should I be bringing out here?
Well, I think it's the synergy between Harvey and I think also the fact that...
Wait a minute. How long have you guys been married?
About 40 years.
Harvey, did you know who you were marrying way back then?
Absolutely.
So you realized that she was the idea guy and the driver and everything.
At the beginning, not so much at the beginning, but we see it now. After the first hour, we found out.
And Catherine, did you know who you were marrying back then?
Oh, absolutely.
So he was pretty good at implementing stuff.
He was sharp, very sharp. I loved the business. I loved his mind.
There was something, wasn't there something about a shoe or something like that? What was that?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier your mother gave you some great financial advice. What's in the shoe?
A lot of money.
Okay.
Well, what kind of advice did your mom give you? What was that all about, Harvey?
Shall we say that you never know what's going to happen in business? It can be great one day and you'll lose it tomorrow, so put away something for a rainy day. So
what did that sense of being resourceful and saving, what's that have to do with building this organization, Sunnyside Restaurant Group?
Well, we don't take we take all the opportunities we can. We don't sell our business to people just for the sake of money. We finance ourselves, we always have, and we go slow but sure.
Wait. Give me this again.
We don't finance through third parties. We finance all our applications through it with our own funds.
So you learned about bootstrapping. You learned about saving your money and reinvesting your savings. And so do you have a really fancy dancy car? Is that what you guys spend your money on?
Nah, we don't do that. Nah, it's not for us.
No. What is for you guys? It's building the business, isn't it?
Always, 24/7.
What do you mean?
We concentrate all the time on building our businesses, having relationships with our management team, getting to know our employees constantly. It's a constant thing. It's very enjoyable.
What's enjoyable about it? Some people would find it stressful, or it's work, or
heavens. I don't know about stress. I don't know about retiring. I don't know about nonsense. We're here to do something. We love it every day. Every day. Somebody mentioned, but every day is a wonderful day.
Huh. How about that? Yeah, Catherine, what else am I missing in this interview?
What you're missing from just what Harvey said is that we travel all the time. So we take all our children with us wherever we go. We want everybody with us. We've traveled with some employees sometimes because we want to develop. We want to see what they're doing in the world, and we bring it back. We're always in other restaurants. I have the biggest collection of menus from restaurants all over the world. I love to meet chefs from all over the world, and that's what we do. So that takes us. That's our recreation. So it kind of like all ties in.
Wait. You're telling me that you really enjoy the restaurant industry. You really enjoy checking out menus, checking out concepts, talking to chefs, figuring out what you think is going to work in different markets.
Absolutely. That's all day long.
And that stems from it sounds to me like your dad had exposed you to that when you were 11 years old, taking you to France.
Yes, you're right.
Huh. And you guys really enjoy this stuff.
We love it.
You think you're going to ever retire?
No. What I love is the legacy now of it. I'm loving the legacy of it. I'm loving that my daughter is taking over the business. My son is in the field, and we exchange ideas all the time. And I want to bring my grandchildren into it too.
So it's a lot of fun for you. It's building
a lot
a
of
team.
fun, and I love the 2-generation thing that goes on in our business because it comes 2 different points of view to everything.
What are you talking about? They don't know the restaurant business like you do. Why would you listen to them?
Oh, because they're they're what's there. They're what's out there. You have to be. You have to listen to young people. That's what the future is. They are the future. They're our future customer.
So you're listening to them because you're concerned about their opinions.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're always digesting. You never stop. You're always digesting new information. What's going on in different parts of the world, different parts of the country, different menus, different.
Yes.
It's like a big puzzle for you.
You're quite right.
Huh? It's a big puzzle. What else you guys thinking?
So earlier somebody talked about business being art and science. So it seems like, Kathy, you're the art. Harvey, you're the science. Would that be correct?
Right on.
Right on. And the science piece, why is that so important? The numbers.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. In today's world, it's very nice to create, but if you don't have a good bottom line, you're wasting your time.
What's the website address? Is Sunnyside Restaurant?
SunnysideRestaurantGroup.com.
SunnysideRestaurantGroup.com. We would speak with Catherine and Harvey Mendelsohn, CEO and President, Sunnyside Restaurant Group, as well as we've had the opportunity of speaking with Julian Setian, President and CEO of SOS International, Brandon Torres Declet, CEO and co-founder of Measure, Alex
Koludrovic,
who's General Manager of American Technology Services, and again, most recently, Catherine and Harvey Mendelsohn, CEO and President of Sunnyside Restaurant Group. I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Joe Applebaum, Potomac Companies, John Yetman, Association for Enterprise Growth, that's Association for Enterprise Growth, David Kunzman, Pretoria Law, and Shirley Mallory Hertzbach for giving me a hand structuring the questions, hopefully providing our listening audience an educational and entertaining show. I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. Thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.